So, I often serve up pep talks in one form or another on this channel, all geared towards encouraging folks to be creative and not only get stuff done, but to try new things they may have considered but never pulled the trigger on. And my personal view of philosophical concepts is that they are best when they're universal. Meaning, for example, sit in the chair can pertain to many things in life beyond a hobby desk or a gaming table. And sure, I often squeeze or stretch things to make them pertain to our hobby, but that's because they can and they do. So this time, I'm putting my money where my mouth is, and I'm taking my own advice, and I'm tackling something new to me, and I'm getting something done. And of course, who would I be if I didn't bring you along with me? Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes I take you on a field trip that's only vaguely related to tabletop gaming. And we thank our patrons for their considered and sophisticated indulgence. One quick note here, there's going to be a lot of B-roll that has no audio because I played real music in the studio even though I knew that'd be a problem for YouTube. It was a photo shoot, man, come on. We had to get some cheesy, getting the vibe tunes, right? I mean, that's what they do in all the videos I've seen of photo shoots. Alright, so this whole thing started, well, to be perfectly honest, it probably started way back in 2013. I had wrapped up my little cheesy fantasy, Dungeons & Dragons inspired, no-budget web series, and one of my actors was asking me about Season 2. Now, I had written up an outline, so I knew two things about Season 2. It would require real money and real locations. And thus, I was never confident we'd get to do a Season 2. Trust me, when I spout off with advice on this channel, I do so well aware of how difficult it is to follow any kind of advice. Anyway, my actor friend who had moved to Sacramento had found a winery there that is essentially a real castle. And they do rent out to productions, like I know Disney has rented that place before. So we went to check it out and they gave us a tour. Now, the third act centerpiece in my Season 2 was something I've never stopped wanting to do, cinematically speaking.
You're always talking about the masquerade stuff.
I know. Well, that's when I want to do the whole masquerade thing. That's the difference. I want to do a masquerade ball that devolves into a sword and magic fight. Come on.
Amazing.
A masquerade ball that devolves into a pitched sword fight and magic battle, with a heist running in the background, D&D style. Now, on another hand, I've always really liked photography, but I've only ever shot, like candids and landscape type stuff, some architecture, just point and shoot stuff. I've always wanted to shoot portraits, but I've never had any confidence to try such a thing. I still don't have any confidence. I'm just old now and have fewer left to give. Now, one thing is, I'm pretty introverted. Life has tried to beat that out of me, but it's definitely a core stat. Or flaw, as the case usually is with my core stats. One-on-one with a person I don't know, that's a tough deal. Couple that with a lack of experience, self-doubt, self-consciousness. You see how all this self-nonsense kind of adds up to a kind of narcissism? Yeah, so do I. Anyway, I never tried portrait photography, and I've never tried flash photography, and I've just always wanted to learn how to do it. Now, a lot of people I know are quick to point out things like, dude, you shoot video all the time. You work with clients and actors and subjects all the time. It's the same thing. What are you worried about? Just had to fix the swords back there. They're crooked. This is bothering me. Dude, you shoot video all the time. And it's hard to explain that it really isn't the same thing. I mean, it's in the same ballpark, yes, but it ain't the same game. In our tabletop hobby terms, it might be like having speed-painted armies forever and then deciding to try out painting a bust or display model. But back to D&D and photography. I really like certain aesthetics. One of those is obviously swords and high fantasy fashion. Duh. So, this idea of the masquerade ball scene never quite leaving the back burner, and yeah, it's still bubbling back there. Another friend of mine was making a stop-motion feature film in his garage, and one of the actors he hired to do some voiceover was our mutual friend, Debradawn Shockey, who is not only a fantastic actress, but is also an incredible wardrobe designer. Look, she helped me do these.
Tell me that is not blood on my imported carpet. This little bitch has no idea how expensive this rug is. And I just ordered matching drapes.
You're the Jake sisters, correct? Girls are hard to find.
Mister, you are stinking up my porch.
So I was hit with this idea to do a photo shoot with Debradawn and women in medieval dresses with swords.
Girly, but badass.
Yeah, I know how original that is. You ain't gotta tell me. I also have an idea for a companion series, but we ain't gonna talk about that right now. So, I called her up.
I think I asked him to lunch. So we were sitting and talking, and he said, actually, I'm thinking about trying photography. And he said, I was thinking maybe you could hook me up with some of your costumes and we can get a few girls in and just have a photo shoot. And I said, oh man, I'm in. And he said, you could be one of the models if you want. But I think he only said that because he knew in order to get my costumes, he'd probably have to put me in front of the camera. So here we are a year later. We have one pretty girl here. And then we have another one coming in. And he's going to rock it. If I could find anything to put these girls in, they don't have a thing to wear.
And so earlier this summer, which was 2023 if you're watching this in the future, we all crewed up on a TV show production, and neither Debradawn nor I had forgotten this photo shoot thing, so we planned it out. On our TV production, we met
Lily Luque. Smile. Smile. Smile with your teeth. Makeup artist.
Lovely Lily Luque.
And on a whim, I was like, hey, Lily, would you be up for doing makeup for a photo shoot? And Debradawn was like, hey, Lily, would you be up for modeling for us too? Lily was a little taken aback by that, but she walked that plank in the end because she's gracious and badass.
And Lily, can you tell me what you're doing?
I cannot. You guys are lucky you guys are having me in front of the camera today.
Now, something I'd asked Debradawn back at the beginning was if she could also find me a couple of actresses to shoot. Debradawn is heavily involved in the community theater scene, so I figured she might know some folks. Plus, I work with actresses, but I've never worked with models. Hey, introvert with a lack of self-confidence. We done talked about this, remember? So Debradawn found a couple of actresses, and she herself would be my third model. Good to go. But you know what the universe does. It takes your plans and laughs at you. Right in your face. Every time. But at a certain point, or a certain age anyway, you just expect it. And you suit up and ready yourself to go to guns, 'cause that's what it feels like every time. So I had the crew all on board. I had Debradawn, Lily, a third actress, my friend Jared to assist me, and my production partner Brad to help on set and shoot some BTS while we did whatever we were going to do. I scheduled the studio and everyone was good for the date, and then 2 weeks out, our main actress couldn't make the day through no fault of her own. Of course, right? But another thing we learned about the universe is that it likes to pull the rug out from under us so it can give us a gift. It's a little twisted that way, but that's how it goes. Now that always happens, and you just gotta have faith. You gotta keep moving forward. You gotta show the universe you ain't stopping so you can receive that gift. You gotta look up at the sky and say, what else you got? I'm hungry. So I started asking around, trying to keep the franticness out of my voice, and we go through a bunch of almost maybes, and the main photo session slot is still empty. Then I remembered we used to use this site called Breakdown Express to cast actors in our projects years ago. It's called Actors Access on the actor side. Now, you're probably thinking, if this guy works all the time in this industry, how does he not know people? Well, I used to, but of course, there's a story there that I'll tell you one day. Anyway, our old account was defunct, so I had to make a new one and had to jump through some hoops to get verified so I could post the gig, and this is now like 7 days out from our studio rental date. And if you know anything about scheduling a bunch of people to do stuff, that is one of the most difficult things to achieve. Lining everybody up on a specific day. So the gig finally posted on Breakdown Express, and how many submissions do you think I got? I got over 200 submissions in 24 hours. I'm sure the SAG strike had a little something to do with that. Anyway, I ended up meeting...
I'm Laura Dromrick, and I'm an actress.
And you know the universe is helping you out when your top choice not only responds right away with her availability, but turns out to play D&D as well. Get the hell out of here, right? I mean, come on.
I was super excited and knew I had to apply for it because I'm really into Dungeons and Dragons, so anything like medieval or like Renaissance or period just makes my heart happy. So I started playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was in Chicago like 7 years ago with my roommates at the time. And I just fell in love with it and like started playing multiple times a week, and still to this day play a lot of Dungeons and Dragons.
And on top of all that, Laura is super cool, gung-ho, fun to work with, and talented. And those are the 4 most important facets you want in a collaborator. She fit right in with our group, although I'm positive she's used to much higher quality sets. When you're putting together a project, you're producing. And when you're also directing that project, you're also directing. Most indie or low budget or no budget creators are doing this all the time, and it's tough. But you know, if you want to do anything, it's going to be tough. Mostly what I was trying to do throughout the day was, 1, make sure the other folks helping me produce this thing had their space and time protected so they could do their thing. 2, make sure we stuck to our schedule as best we could, which is always a top imperative, at least for me. 3, do my best to protect my actual shooting windows, of which there were 4 1-hour blocks. Meaning I really wanted those hours to be all about working with the talent and firing those flashes.
And another movement, big movement. make the dress a little more,
Yeah.
like, so it's not straight across. Like
Got
it
it.
can give it a little more leeway so it can like tuck down.
Sorry, Brad.
Oh, you're okay.
Just walk this around. Walk this light around here and this light around here a little bit.
And to do that last one, well, the first thing you got to do is try to plan. And a big part of that is making the schedule. And the things you cannot forget when making the schedule is lunch and prep time. I spent quite a bit of time thinking about how to pull off the day. There's always two things at war in a creative project: the producer and the creative. I don't mean to imply that actual producers and creatives are in battle with each other, or that producers aren't creative, or that creatives aren't aware of production issues. In fact, there's no better pair of allies on a project than a hardcore producer and a great creative. What I mean is, most creative projects are battles between efficiency and creativity, or the creative process maybe. And when you're wearing both hats, well, you're playing solo skirmish against yourself. So, things I did prior to the shoot include not only thinking about, but acting out some of the poses I thought I wanted to shoot. And from this, I generated a shot list of sorts. I set up and ran tests of the flash equipment because I'd never used it before. This involves setting up softboxes and umbrellas and light stands and diffusion panels and reflectors in my apartment, and making sure I knew how to operate the remote flash trigger on my camera. I thought through the day quite a bit and tried to imagine all of the details of the production in order to make the schedule. And I tell you what, nothing screwed up my schedule more than figuring out when to work in that damn lunch. Here's the schedule I sent out to the crew and talent in case you're curious. Now, on the actual shoot day, we all worked really hard to try and stay on that schedule. And I have a tendency to sacrifice some creativity in order to hit my days. Some would argue that this is not how an artist is successful. And I might agree. I generally always want people I'm around to be happy. And I'll tend to forego sometimes my own artistic or creative desires if it's going to cause discomfort to someone else. I do really struggle with this, believe me. We unloaded 5 cars worth of gear into that studio. That sounds dramatic, and it was. But one car just had this crazy chair Debradawn had, and one car was just Lily's makeup gear. But the other 3 cars were packed to the gills, so you couldn't even see through the rearview mirrors. Not recommended, by the way, and probably illegal in most states. Once we had everything set up, my first model, Debradawn, became my first test subject. And I cannot overstate how completely out of my element I felt.
Have you ever... We've never... There's a lot of things we've never done that we're doing today.
Like I said, I've literally never taken a flash photo of someone before. Not counting, party pictures on an iPhone or something.
I have no idea what I'm doing.
Let alone someone who has put time and immense effort, along with a bunch of others, into a project and who is trusting me to not waste her time or make her look bad. Freaky is an understatement. So, what's it like trying to pull off a day where you've clearly bitten off more than you can chew?
My brain has reached its limit. I've percolated. It's as much as I can think of how to get the camera off the tripod.
Once a day starts, it's always a whirlwind.
I mean, it's overwhelming.
So lights are up. I got to turn them on, but they're flashes. I got to set the camera up. We're going to start on a 40mm and see what that does.
I'm stressing out. If these dresses aren't worn on the true waist, then they're not going to look right.
Can you let Debradawn know that this thing is super slippery?
I've slipped like twice.
Bish said he wanted like an ombre look. I'm looking to see if I want it darker, but before I go dark, I have to make sure because there's no taking that off. But I'm trying to visualize what we're doing. I feel like I don't know what we're wearing. I don't know what the studio looks like.
Because you leave it to me, you're going to get nonsense like this.
Hat or no hat?
Yeah, you have.
Okay, cool.
Tell me your name.
Do you have an apple box over there I can stand on?
A glittery, natural-ish look. I don't know. I have to like put stuff on the face first before I know what I'm doing.
Now, let me switch lenses. Is that the feathers? I think that's going to be too much because I like your shape.
Yeah, and this is already volume. Yeah. Hey, there's no blood in my alcohol system. Can't believe I have this stuff. Haven't you been to my trailer?
No.
You should come to my trailer sometime.
You should come to my trailer sometime.
Just going to mix up a little bit. Oh, that's fucking great. So when she's done here, she's going to go put Laura in wardrobe.
And what do you think of this dress?
I love it.
I'm so glad you
I love
fit
the
it.
color too.
So these are dull, but they're still steel. The sword is like an afterthought. So she just, you flung it out, so it's overhand, over wrist like this. Yeah, like that. It's just lazy, like this.
Can I swoop in?
She's getting earrings on right now. But I was posing her for the first stylized pose. I don't know what to call that pose. I don't give a fuck. that pose. That's what that is.
I make the biggest messes. I win.
Do we want to shoot one of these shoes?
I don't know. Let's go.
Let's come over.
Now that's a little more doable, because that we could just drape weird. Yeah, that's okay.
Would it be okay if I make her hair like super messy?
Yeah. And this one, you're just going to dangle it again in your hand like it's not. Well, we could try one like that. So, Jared, we need to probably lower it back once, because we don't need to do that for Louie's shot. I'm going to rotate you even a little bit more. Tuck it up so that, there you go, like that. You're gonna,
My shoulders.
no, you're good. Yeah, no, back is good. And look up towards the light. 3, 2, 1. This is again with the smile. There we go. Yep. I don't know what's happening. Like I'm in the middle of it. I don't know what I'm doing.
It's definitely one thing to watch a bunch of tutorials, and a whole other thing to do the thing yourself. But it's also the cool part, right? I mean, we were doing the thing. Like this, I used this little microfogger exactly one time, a few days before when it showed up in the mail. I knew I wanted to use that pipe I got at the Ren Fair and this silver chalice thing I got on Etsy as props, and I thought maybe both the pipe and the cup might look cool with smoke coming out of them. When Laura arrived, Debradawn and Lily got her made up and dressed up, and we started shooting with her in the red dress. I pretty much let Debradawn just choose the wardrobe she wanted to use, and I took care of the
props. Gosh, he's got these swords. I didn't even get a sword. But yeah, he's got a little cup, chalice, like a gold chalice.
Oh, cool. I love it.
He has this
so
pipe,
like Game
and
of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah, and they put the smoke in the pipe and the chalice.
And then we just tried to get as many shots as we could, which is not necessarily the best way to do things. But I realized that's kind of just how I work. As much as I would like to be a planner and know exactly what I want ahead of time, I just don't. I definitely have ideas, but a lot of the time, I have to see something to know if I dig it or not. Anyway, Laura was super fun to work with and game to try all my dumb ideas and added her own too. And Debradawn would jump in there every couple of shots to add something like earrings or change something like, hey, how about this sheet of gold cloth? Debradawn makes most of her wardrobe with the ability to add and subtract pieces so that looks can be pretty versatile, which is awesome.
I liked playing with all of the extra pieces. That's like my favorite part. You could totally change the look by just taking one thing on or off. I love that.
After our first hour of shooting with Laura was up, we broke for lunch, which Brad had to drive an hour to go get. And then Laura got into the green dress for a second look Debradawn had picked out for her, and we got right back into it. For that second look, I asked Lily if she could mess up Laura's eye makeup, smudge it up, and...
Like, how far do you want it?
Not super far. Just a little bit. Just a little bit of like raggedness or smudginess on it.
Lily's like,
Oh, that's great.
gritting her teeth.
He's like, no.
I mean, unless you want to keep that. Do you like that? Do you like it like it is, Laura? Would you rather keep it?
I'm always down for smudgy, but I know it tracks so crazy.
It's just, I know how to do pretty makeup.
I know, it is awesome. Now I just want you to wreck it a little bit.
Don't get Lily if you
Just a
want
little bit.
ugly.
Let me call out my two buddies here too, Brad and Jared. They had my back the whole day. Brad owns Black Bunny Media, which is basically our day job where we produce video for all kinds of clients. And he spent the day shooting behind the scenes for you and me. And Jared was essentially my right hand out there on set. Moving lights, running the smoke machine, swapping props, making sure talent didn't fall down on our ridiculously slippery floor.
So this is like stupidly slippery.
Got it.
Helping Debradawn with all her stuff. He's always there when you need him, and that is one of the best qualities you can find in another individual. So we had this crazy cool chair Debradawn brought, in Jared's car, of course, and we did some shots with Laura in that, and at the end of that sequence, I asked Laura what she would do in the chair. And that's what I'm talking about. Being creative, being fun, being willing to try weird stuff. Game on. Then we lost the chair, which means we removed it from the set, and I switched up the sword.
This one's like a real sword. It's dull, but it was real.
Now that sword, which is currently dull, used to be razor sharp and is for all intents and purposes a genuine weapon. It's really well made, probably one of the coolest things I own. And there's a fairly terrible story about this sword that maybe I'll talk about one day. But anyway, we did some more poses with that sword, and we went back to the rapier, and we did a bunch more stuff. And in the last 5 minutes Laura was going to be on set, we tried out that boot on the camera shot.
I almost want to get a shot of you like putting your boot on the camera. Let's just try it. Can we try it really quick? There we go. It's fine. It's super fun.
That leg's
okay,
strong.
that's fine.
That leg's
okay,
strong.
take that sword away from her. She swings it at somebody. Okay.
And then it was time for Lily, who came out of the green room all decked out in the blue princess dress and promptly showed me her shoes and said, "Look, I brought my lacy shoes to go with your Lace and Blades photo shoot, which I thought was super cool, because Lace and Blades is the working title I put on all the call sheets and emails and the Breakdown Express ad. I know it's a silly title, but you gotta have some kind of working title, right? So that's what it was. Now, just like me, Lily hasn't done this sort of thing on camera before, and she was telling me how she needed some direction.
I'm doing my own hair and makeup.
As a makeup artist.
As a makeup artist, non-model, don't like to be in front of the camera, exclusive, very special. You're killing me. You're killing me right now. And then I don't know what to do with my hair, but from what I hear, we have a fan, so it's just gonna blow my hair away. I'm the princess. How fun is that for you? To see people so awkward.
Now, this is the last hour of the day, and I'm well aware that we have a hard out on the studio rental, and we've got 7 acres of stuff to pack up, and the clock is ticking.
I don't know what's going on. It's like when you get stoned and like you can only think 1 minute ahead. You're just like in the now, and I was like, I don't know if anything I'm doing is right.
We hadn't used this katana I'd brought yet, so I started her with that. I feel pretty bad because by that time of the day, I was failing her, I think, as a director. Or, I guess in this case, a photographer. The photographer is the director on a photo shoot. I don't know. Just ignore me. Go watch a different video. The bottom line is, I really wish I just had more time. But we'll talk about the things I learned from the whole experience in just a bit. So I had brought a cheapy fan. We tried that out, which was cool. But now I know why you actually need like a powerful fan to move someone's hair around. Then we switched props so we could have fun getting more poses and more shots.
What do you want?
I want to get drunk. I want to get high.
Oh, okay, all right, let's do that.
One of the best pics I got was Lily playing up her reaction to an empty wine cup.
That's awesome. How about we give you a different prop?
Okay, I know one of the most frustrating things about this video is I'm not showing you any of the actual photos. There are 2 reasons. One is that that's how it was on set. We didn't really look at any pics other than on the back of the camera. And that's how it is for most of the low-budget shoots we do. We have to wait till we get home to dump footage, or in this case photos, to a home computer to review at full resolution and see what we captured. Of course, on bigger budget productions, you have monitors and ways to check what you're doing as you go, but that wasn't this project. The second reason is that reviewing and working on the photos is definitely worth its own video. There are some surprising correlations between miniature painting and photo post-processing, and things I'm learning from one that apply to the other. So yeah, I'm just a tease.
Deal with it!
But on set, we finished Lily's session with that bastard sword, which is the technical nomenclature, even though it's also called a 1.5-hand sword, because you can operate it with 1 hand or 2 hands.
Yeah.
That's like a fucking movie poster.
Good job, Lily.
Great job, Lily.
And that was it.
Let's pack everything up.
That's it.
That's a wrap.
Alright, so some final thoughts. I think everyone had fun.
Yes, I'm crazy. That's awesome.
And we got some, well, I don't know what to expect from the photos, but I desperately hope I got at least 1 cool photo to make the day worth it. That's facetious, of course. Even if I'd shot total garbage, the experience was worth it. There's plenty of stuff for me to take away from the experience, but probably the biggest thing is actually just the experience itself. I'm super happy I did it. And of course, I learned a bunch through this experience. I told you, gaining XP left and right. Double XP on failures. I learned quite a few things that are photo session specific, of course, and I'll learn even more when I go through the pics. But one thing I learned is that, yeah, I think I like shooting portraits, or at least doing studio photography. I mean, I have no desire to shoot like normal family portraits or corporate headshots, nothing like that. But the act of taking staged photos, I think I really connected with that. I already want to do it again. I love working with the costumes and props and the talent. It's just too cool. I learned that I would prefer to shoot only 1 or 2 models on a day with 2-hour windows blocked out instead of single-hour windows, so I'll know that for next time. I don't need nearly as much gear as I thought I did, so that's good to know. I don't think I like just shooting into a plain backdrop as much as if we decorated like an entire set, but that said, I still need to try taking photos like on location, which has its own batch of logistic issues. But I could go on and on about stuff I learned on that day. Ultimately, while planning and researching and studying is a super important part of any project, I think the most important thing is just doing the thing, whatever it is. That's where all the value lies. And of course, somebody's gonna say, well, it's easy for you to do something like that. You've got all this equipment, yada, yada, yada. But hey, I got into filmmaking with a point-and-shoot home video camera. That's what I started with. Yes, today I had a bunch of resources I tapped for this little project, but a lot of the time, It's easier to lean on any kind of excuse not to do something than it is to pony up, drop your cards on the table, and actually do a thing. Trust me, I know that intimately and fall victim to my own excuses every damn day. The point is, the reward for trying something new, even if the first attempt is outright failure, is gaining experience. And gaining experience just might be the only thing of actual value in this life. But I don't know anything. I'm just a crazy old dude on the internet. See ya.